I'm sorry. This is making me very happy.
I
I'm trying
know.
not to distract you. I just want you to keep talking.
No,
Okay.
your face is just so happy. It makes me happy.
This is great. I love
It's so
this.
cool.
Hello from your favorite Grasslands PR team. This week we're back with another reason why these overlooked and underappreciated ecosystems are objectively the best biome. I'm Rachel, and I can barely speak without laughing.
It's fine. Oh, I'm Alan. I'm here again.
Yay.
Yay.
And I'm Nicole. And
Hey, nerd.
today I'm being harassed. I'm ready for it though. I expected it with this topic.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna happen. It's fine. I love it. I'm excited.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about bumblebees.
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 Why do you think we would harass you about this?
Yeah, Nicole, why would we ever do that?
I wonder. I mean, I guess not specifically about bumblebees, but about the other bee that everybody likes to talk about.
Nicole has a lot of feelings about bees.
Nicole, what other bee are you talking about? What other bee could possibly be at the center of American pollinator conservation?
Yeah.
If not the bumblebee.
I know, right? I mean, I am going to make the case that the bumblebee should be at the center of everyone's conservation focus. But no, people love talking about honeybees. They're great in Europe. They are not great here. I understand their importance in agriculture and our food, but I hate them. And at this point, I mean, if we got rid of them, a lot of things would go really badly, but like also, I'm willing to try it.
Okay.
Just for the record, Nicole is willing to reduce our food production by approximately 1/3. This is how strongly she
She's
feels
just-
about
yeah.
that.
She's smiling.
I'm kidding.
Just for a short time until the native pollinators come in and take
that's true.
over.
No, you're
so
right.
it's fine.
You're right.
What's the timeline for that? Like, I'm sure people have run the math on this, right? We've really derailed your topic before you even started.
This is why I said that I would be harassed.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I didn't look into it. I'm sure some nerd has probably ran some kind of a simulation on this. Like, what if all the honeybees, disappeared suddenly overnight? But that was just not a rabbit hole that I allowed myself to go down during this research.
Honestly, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, for
Thank
sure.
you.
I mean, that was a concern a little while ago with like colony collapse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is it not
I'm sure
still?
there's data out there. Well, I don't know. Didn't they I don't know.
Did colony collapse stop?
I don't know.
Why are we talking about honeybees on Nicole's Bumblebee episode?
Good point. You're right.
Oh, man.
All
okay.
right. Forget those bees. Nicole,
Yes,
state your case.
Screw honeybees.
Yes. Screw honeybees. My first two notes of this is honeybees suck. Let's talk about actually cool social bees. There's over 250 species of bumblebees in the world. Over 20,000 species of just like other bees in the world. Why do we only talk about honeybees? It makes me livid.
Yeah, with good reason.
Thank you.
Yeah, we support you.
I appreciate that. I really do. But yeah, let's talk about bumblebees. I will still make some, comparisons to honeybees just because it's almost impossible not to, just because they're the one species of bee that like 90% of the population knows about.
Only 90?
I mean,
Just kidding. I'm sorry. Keep going.
I'm pretty sure everyone's had honey before, so
I mean, have they?
maybe.
I don't know. Maybe. I love honey, so
I don't
I'm
like honey.
very biased towards honeybees now that I think about it.
Nicole,
I kind of. Okay, I'm sorry.
No. I just found it really ironic that she just like deadpan looked at all of us and said, "I don't like honey." Like that felt very
Yeah.
like, huh?
This is really deeply personal for Nicole. So,
It is.
all right.
I'm not gonna. I just wanted to get all my biases out there. Like, there is a bias involved in this research, but I think it's okay because I think it's valid also. But anyways, everyone knows about how honeybees work, how they're, hives work, all that good stuff. But like, what are bumblebees doing? And admittedly, like I said, there's like 250 species of bumblebees worldwide. So it's a little dangerous to make like vast comparisons with all 250 species. But for the most part, they kind of do the same thing every year. In the spring, all the queens emerge from underground where they've been hibernating all winter.
How many queens are there?
I mean, it depends on how successful the bumblebee population is in that area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't. You'll find out. You'll find out. But all of the queens emerge. They go off and they search for an appropriate nest site. This can be like under some leaves, under a log. She's not like super picky, but she wants to be, protected from the elements, protected from potential predators, all that good stuff. I have found a bumblebee nest once in my life. It was very exciting. And it was just like tucked underneath a log in a forest. It was really, really cool. A little terrifying, but really cool.
Terrifying?
Yeah, because, okay, so I was looking for bugs. It was during my entomology class in college. And we were just kind of out roaming around. And I like heard them, but like it didn't really like click that I was hearing like hundreds of bees buzzing at me. And then I got closer to them and I was like, that weird buzzing noise is getting louder. And then I stopped and I was like, oh, they're like 3 feet away from me and just like on the ground, and I almost stepped on them, which would have been bad.
Well, yeah, because like, okay, bumblebees are generally aggressive,
Yes.
right? Unless you are stepping like on them.
Yeah.
On their nest, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is valid. Like if someone came into my house and just started stomping around, I'd probably tell them to go away too.
Yeah.
And if
fair.
I could sting
Or
them, I
stab
would.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I get it. But
Violence
yeah,
is the option in this scenario.
Yeah.
You can't fault the bees.
Totally.
Got to protect those babies.
Babies. How many babies out there?
How
Never
many
mind, I didn't answer
queens,
that.
how many babies?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So each queen will, in the spring, find a good nest spot all by herself. She will lay some eggs, feed those babies, grow them up nice and big, and then throughout the summer, she'll start growing that nest bigger and bigger. And she'll start getting a lot of worker bees involved that are going out and collecting pollen and nectar and also helping feed all the little babies too.
You just said that she gets a lot of worker bees involved, as if like recruitment of worker bees was a very simple, straightforward thing, and you just like post job flyers around, and the bees would just come. Like, are they her children?
Yes.
Like, did she recruit them from somewhere else? Okay.
Yeah, it's easy to recruit your own children to the cause.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's very similar to like how we think of like a queen honeybee. Like she tells everyone what to do using pheromones. By the time summer comes along, she's just sitting in the nest producing more eggs, and the workers are going out and doing all the hard work.
I'm also having a little bit of a hang up here because you just said that she just started making babies by herself in the woods alone under a log.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I have studied biology a little bit. What?
Yeah, I'm gonna second that.
Okay. I'll explain. So she raises up a few hundred bees. It just depends. Fall comes around, and the dynamics within the nest will change. Instead of producing worker bees, they start producing new queens and drones, male bees that are going to be able to reproduce. So they're focusing, instead of on working and raising new bees, they shift and they start producing reproductively viable bees. Those queens will emerge from the nest and will mate, and then go and find a good spot to hibernate. Then they spend all winter underground, and in the spring emerge and start it all over again. So they don't mate in the spring.
So
They mate in the fall.
Okay, but are the drones? Is this like a parthenogenesis thing? Like she's just like making a clone of herself for these drones? Is that what you're saying? Or like the workers rather, the workers?
So she is laying all of the bees in the nest in the summer are related by the queen, and then whatever male she mated with the previous fall.
Oh,
So
okay.
she'll find like an unrelated drone
Right.
when she leaves her OG nest.
Yes.
Okay.
But you were making it sound like there was unfertilized eggs that were hatching at one point.
Because I didn't explain that in the fall she's mating and then they're hatching in the spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was confused.
I know.
I thought you were like, this is like she's just making, like she's control V new bees everywhere.
No, they're not clones. They are, her and whatever drone she mated with the previous fall.
Okay.
Weird.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is
Alright,
weird.
makes
Suspicions were correct, Alan.
Mm-hmm.
We did it, guys.
There was a male involved.
Yes.
Okay, so my okay. I feel like that's good, and that makes sense to me then.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm on board.
I mean, I would be pretty on. Well, would I be on? Never mind. That's a whole other.
No, I was going to be on board either way, but I just
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
what we were talking about.
Yeah,
I was very confused.
No, it's weird because it's very like unusual for any animal to just like emerge in the spring and just like start having babies without meeting a male. Like it is very weird.
Yeah.
And it's only the queens that survive the winter. All of the other ones, they just all die off. All the males die off. All the workers from the previous year all die off in winter. It's only the female queens that will be ready the next spring to have babies that are going to survive the winter.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
What? I have so many questions, which I'm sure you're going to answer. Are we completely derailing what you were planning to talk about? So we just keep asking you questions every 5 minutes?
I love it.
Okay. Fantastic.
Tell us more about bumblebees, Nicole.
If you insist. No, I love that like you guys don't know this because I mean it just goes to prove how little we know about them and how our education has failed us in every way because it only focuses on honeybees.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's very fair. I didn't even realize bumblebee nests were that large, like hundreds of bees.
It does depend on the species. Some will have smaller nests, maybe of only like a couple dozen, like 50 individuals, but others can be up to like 500. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Are these nests, do they resemble a honeybee hive? Like, or like what do the nests of other social bees look like? Because like wasps, like we see, like wasp nests are a little more conspicuous, and they have all sorts of neat shapes and designs to them. What does a bumblebee nest look like?
Yeah, great question. So they do make wax, just like wasp. Sometimes wasps. A lot of times they're just made out of like spit and like bark. But
I was gonna say like
Yeah.
how do wax? Is it like a gland? Is it
Yes.
spit and bark?
So it's very similar to honeybee
I don't know how
wax.
honeybee wax is made.
It's spit.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh, okay, like swallows.
Yeah.
Some swallows.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they do make wax, and they do make individual cells that they will cap, like with nectar and food that the baby bees, when they hatch out of their egg, they eat, and then eventually they eat their way out. Very, very similar to honeybees, but it's much less conspicuous, a lot smaller. A honeybee hive will have like 50,000 individuals, so it has to be a lot bigger. And the honeybee hives will be a lot more like organized. A bumblebee nest is.
Do they bumble around?
Instead
they
of working.
do.
Oh
No,
Aw.
they are hard workers. We will get into that. Don't you slander my bumblebees.
It's fun. It's fun because I know like so many things that I could say that will like immediately trigger Nicole about bees. Like I was gonna say, we were talking about the nests. I was like, what I really like about honeybees is how their nest cells are like perfect little like hexagons.
Wow, they're
Yeah.
such great architects. But it's just gravity that puts them into hexagon shapes. They make circles, and then gravity makes it turn into a hexagon shape. So
Alan's just pure joy on his face that it worked again, and he perfectly triggered you into ranting. Okay.
I mean, I appreciate it. I'm here for the honeybee slander, and that's why I didn't write any of the notes, my notes on honeybee slander, because I knew that you guys would just prompt me into it. So,
Yeah.
If you've spent really any time with Nicole, you've heard her rant about honeybees, and so it's honestly it's too easy for us, so we should probably just let her talk.
You're right.
I doubt that's gonna happen.
If anybody wants to see our Twitter account become completely feral and unhinged, just start tweeting us about how cool honeybees are and see what happens.
Yeah. I dare you. So something like kind of nice about bumbles is they don't swarm like honeybees do.
But swarming isn't like that's not like dangerous. That's like the most docile time when honeybees can be around. Like they're pretty chill when they're swarming.
I mean, they're chill, but they're also like actively looking for like a new place and like expanding and just being a nuisance, in my opinion.
I wish you could see Nicole's face.
The indignation is strong. Okay.
But bumbles won't do that. At most, you might see like the drones hanging out outside of a nest where they know an unmated queen is about to emerge, and it's gonna be like a dozen males hanging out. So yeah, nothing crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh man.
God. But yeah, their nests are like just, I wouldn't say like they just look different than what you think of like a bee nest looking like. I don't want to say it's like sloppy because it is like very distinct little cells, but they just look different. And normally you're not really going to see them since they do tend to nest like not really underground, but like in like they will nest underground in like mouse burrows, but also just kind of like tucked under things. So you really don't see them. The only time you would see them is if you like dug one up, and you wouldn't want to do that unless it was like winter and everybody was dead.
What if you put like a little colonoscopy camera down it?
I mean, you could try.
I think that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, they would definitely come out and like tell you to go away though.
Do they have sound? Do colonoscopy cameras have sound?
Is the term for that instrument a colonoscopy camera?
I doubt
like there's
it.
gotta
It's probably an otoscope or something.
Oh, that sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right.
That sounds fancy.
Or that could be the ear one.
Oh, I don't know.
Otoscope.
Yeah,
We're
that could also be
biologists,
right.
okay? We're not like medical.
Yeah.
Biologists.
I love when people are like, "Oh, you're studying biology? You want to work in a hospital?" No.
Hell no. That's too much pressure.
Yeah.
Not every camera probe is used for colonoscopy, right?
Correct.
I think you're right, yeah.
We hope. Okay.
Okay,
Moving
I'm getting schooled. Okay.
Good. But yeah, they nest in all sorts of different places. And I found a really cool resource. It's called the Bumblebee Conservation Trust. Guess what they like to try to save. And it's a Scottish nonprofit. They have a really, really good website with all sorts of really cool pictures and diagrams and all sorts of cool things, like showing bumblebee nests, what to do if you find one, all that good stuff. And
What do you do if you find one?
oh wow, great question.
Don't patronize me.
No.
I mean, that was the next thing on my. It's just really convenient when the questions are
the segue?
immediately,
Yeah.
immediately
Sure.
leading into what I'm about to say. So, but yeah,
This is not scripted. It's not Alan and I anyway.
yeah.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, like their answer, and one that I wholeheartedly stand behind, is if you find a nest, consider yourself lucky.
Oh my god! That's so freaking cute.
That's adorable.
I love it so much. They also go on to like, if you're really concerned about it, there's some different ways that you can like reroute the entrance to the nest and things like that, or maybe even possibly move the nest if you're lucky enough to have them like nesting in a bird box, which would be really easy to move.
Oh my god.
But yeah.
Yeah, that goes against all my natural instincts, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they
If I hear
are,
lots of loud buzzing coming from a single point, I'm going to leave it alone 100% of the time.
that is what I recommend and what they recommend.
Okay.
But some people get really up in arms about bees being near like their children or something. So if you're concerned, here's some options for you. if they're conveniently in a box, you can plug up that box, move it like at night, plug it up when they're all asleep, move it somewhere else. I think it recommended hanging it about 5 feet off the ground. You want it to be at least in partial shade so that they're not getting cooked. And then you can unplug it in the like afternoon is the best time to unplug it. And they will quickly, like, they're very visually oriented, so they'll quickly figure out where they are, where the food is, all that good stuff. So if you move them, just make sure you're putting them somewhere where like there's flowers and food around. But like they're pretty good about figuring out where they are and how to find things again, which is not true for all animals. Like, don't move turtles because they will die because they just cannot find food.
Yeah, can we talk about how on that one season of Love is Blind, somebody straight up kidnapped a turtle and tried to throw it in a pond, even though it was a box turtle?
Yeah.
Yep, don't do that.
Yeah. They can swim, just not for long or well.
The good news was she set it on the shore and stood there breathing over its back until it was like forced to swim away across the pond.
Oof.
But that's better than just throwing it in. So
I have seen
true.
videos of people just chucking box turtles into ponds. I'm like, oh.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But you can chuck bumblebees.
You can gently place them somewhere.
Gently place them. Yes.
I have a question.
I have also 2 questions.
Oh,
gosh.
Okay, you do one first and then I'll do one and then you do the last one.
Okay.
Okay.
First question. Are bumblebees like completely diurnal? Like you said, they all go to sleep at night? Like they go to the hive and they're just like, ooh.
Yep. Yeah. They all cuddle up and
They
sleep.
cuddle?
Yeah.
Oh my god, did they cuddle with the babies?
No, because they're in little cells. So.
Do their wings still vibrate a little bit while they're asleep to keep them warm?
I mean, probably because they.
Are we just? If you don't have a source for that,
Yeah,
you don't have to
no,
say
no.
probably.
No. I mean, I was going to explain.
Okay.
So, like, I bet there's at least a couple bees awake at some point during the night, moving their wings to keep airflow in the nest, because that's very
Right.
any social insect will do that. Maybe not any social insect. A lot of social insects will vibrate their wings to get airflow going when they're in really tight quarters like that. So
I've seen honeybees do that.
Yeah, I know.
On the outside of their hive when it's like really hot out.
yeah, bumblebees will too because they're cool.
Well, yeah, and that's also like okay. I now have a third question, but you go ahead.
Oh, my question is, why can't we just, when it's time for food crops, why can't we just box up the bumblebees and take them to California and let them pollinate our almond trees and then box them up and take them home?
Fantastic question.
Thank you.
So you can actually buy bumblebees online and use them for pollinating your crops.
Well, why don't we do that?
It's a great question. Why don't we do that? I now have 4 questions.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I would imagine that one, they're more expensive. Bumblebees, I mean, they only live a year, and that's the queens that are living a year. Everyone else lives a couple months. So they're more expensive. They're harder to come by. They're not like commercially raised like we see honeybees being raised. They're also, since they are so big, they do pollinate actually quite a few different crops. But because they are so big, it's fewer crops than you might think.
Okay.
So they're really good pollinators for blueberries, tomatoes, squash, eggplants, peppers, strawberries, and kiwis.
Okay.
And they're actually the only known pollinator for potatoes.
What?
So those are all though.
Things that we use honeybees for?
Well, yes, but also those are all plants that are native, well, except for kiwis, right? Native to North America.
Yeah.
Because it stands to reason that food has been cultivated here for thousands of years by millions of people before honeybees came along.
Correct.
Right.
And they had to have been pollinated by
Something.
something.
Yeah.
Bumblebees.
Right? Okay.
It was the bumbles.
That makes sense.
Aw.
I've
The
seen
unsung
so
heroes.
many bumblebees and squash flowers and
Yeah.
stuff. Okay. Aw, that makes me happy.
That does make me happy.
Except for the part, well, never mind. I was going to slander honeybees, but that's kind of beating a dead horse. So
Yeah. No, maybe Nicole doesn't have to wipe out a third of our food.
Yeah.
That's
see?
the point.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, the natives will just come in and replace them. It's fine.
It's
will,
fine.
Will there be a transition period where probably a lot of people will die?
Okay, hold on.
If this actually
I
happened.
think we're losing people.
We are losing people. We're losing people.
Let's go back to talking about how they all cuddle.
I'm just saying, if it actually happened, it would be catastrophic. And I don't actually want it to happen.
No.
That it would be catastrophic and a lot of people would die. Like, that's just a fact.
Right. Honeybees are like effectively a introduced component of the ecosystem permanently now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we have to promote their spread. Yes. And all that, right?
Yeah, they're livestock. Like,
yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're livestock, and if we could, instead of just like wiping out all honeybees, we can slowly encourage, like, especially small farms to plant native wildflowers to encourage honeybees to come along. And there is one species of, I think, sweat bee that is actually commercially farmed and used on farms as well.
I've seen those.
They have stripes. I can't remember what they're called.
Neither can I, but I think I feel like I've seen other bees be commercially available for like a couple of different solitary bees, like leafcutter bees.
Yeah.
That can't be right, but I think I've seen them for sale for like commercial uses and stuff. Maybe.
I think it's slowly becoming more of a thing. And if we could like wean ourselves off honeybees, there are other options out there, is all I'm saying.
Right, for sure. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like all honeybees go and now it's all native pollinators, right? Yeah. Like you can do something to at least restore some of what the honeybees, by merit of being like essentially an invasive species at this point, right? Like that's how they're classified by most entomologists. Like, I mean,
naturalized or
so they do. I don't know 100% if they're naturalized or not, but they do have a detrimental effect to our native pollinators.
Right.
Just because of how many, like I said, they live in hives of 50,000 individuals. Yeah. You throw 10 bumblebees out there, they're not going to be able to compete with that.
Yeah.
So they just outcompete the other pollinators. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like we really just have to prevent them from outcompeting all, like, but yeah, like promoting a little bit more of the natural ecology before it gets completely eliminated is really kind of like the best we can do at this point.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And promoting bumblebees.
Bumblebees.
Yeah. And stuff. Alan, how many of your questions did you get to ask so far?
I think we covered like one, maybe two of them. Okay, so all right. Okay, another question I had was because you said like just go up and move them. Mm-hmm. Okay, I get like this is like a couple. I get this is a couple hundred bees as opposed to a few thousand. Like several thousand bee stings is potentially a life-threatening situation. Yeah. Do honeybees? I mean, do bumblebees not have a really strong like hive defense response? Like, why is this a thing? Like, oh yeah, just go and like yoink, and then like take it to somewhere nice and shady where the flowers grow. That seems crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say that it is a last resort to move them.
Okay.
Just breathing on their nests will provoke not necessarily an attack, but a response. Like they'll come out and like see what you're doing, and then if you continue messing with them, then yes, you will get stung. And fun thing about bumblebees is that their stingers are not barbed, so they can just sting you over and over and over and over and over.
Good for them.
That's nice.
Yeah, and then they don't die afterwards. So that's pretty cool. So I would say, you're not literally going to be able to just like pick up most of them. It's if they are like conveniently nesting inside of like a flower pot or inside of a birdhouse, things like that, like a structure that you can move the structure versus moving like the actual nest. Then you can plug it up at night, move them, unplug it the next day.
Just kidnap them while they're sleeping.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Otherwise, like if it's something that you can't move because they're resting or they're nesting underneath like an eave or an awning, something like that, you can redirect the entrance to the nest with like some flexible tubing. So you find the entrance of the nest, put the tube on there, make it like, you know, as tight of a fit as you can, and then just like move the tube like, I don't know, like over the fence or like away from your front door if they're nesting over your front door, things like that.
I'm just picturing like aiming the tube at somebody as a prank, like
Yeah.
bees.
But yeah, so there's some options out there, but really, if you can just deal with your fun little fuzzy buzzy neighbors for like 3 months, they'll all be dead and moved on. And
Fuzzy buzzy.
Fuzzy buzzy.
Buzzy neighbors.
yeah,
I have a question now, but Alan has like 2 more, so.
I'll ask one, then you ask one. We'll
okay.
do that again.
Okay.
So, I guess like we've all probably learned how like how honeybees feed their larvae, right?
Honey.
Honey, right? Yeah.
Correct. What's that? I'm kidding. Please stop. Okay.
What do bumblebees? What are they feeding their larvae? What do they produce? Like, because do they produce like a honey and a royal jelly like a honeybee colony would, or do they produce something that's like an analog of that substance, or are they just like bringing back pollen on their fuzz and being like, here you go, babies, shake, 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 shake. Like what are they, like what are they? What are they feeding their
I
larvae?
feel like it'd be more effective to let them like eat the pollen off your body than to shake it onto the ground and force them to get it in the dirt. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if you had to, anyway, please tell us the actual answer.
so hygienic of you. So yeah, no, let's talk about like, yeah, how bumblebees are collecting their food and how they're bringing it back. So bumblebees, they're very fuzzy. Yes.
Yeah.
They're very fuzzy. So when they're visiting flowers, they get just absolutely covered in pollen, but they don't just leave it on their bodies. They have pollen baskets like honeybees do, and they kind of groom off all that pollen into their honey baskets that are on their back legs, and that's how they bring it back to the nest. They also will drink nectar and store it in what is called a honey stomach.
Okay.
Oh,
Just like honeybees.
Like a honeybee, yeah.
okay.
And they will vomit it up, and it is a type of honey. So they make honey just like honeybees do. They just don't store it in large quantities like a honeybee does.
Because they're not surviving the winter with an entire hive.
Correct. Yeah.
Interesting.
Damn.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. So there is such a thing. It's like bumblebee honey is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it commercially a thing?
I'm probably not, because they have so little of it that they need all that they produce.
That's really efficient of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job, bumblebees.
Right.
There's no need to produce excess and steal food from everybody else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't be a jerk. Just be a little fuzzy buzzy little friend.
Yeah. Be a fuzzy part of the community.
But yeah, so like, does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I had no idea that that's what they were doing. Like and not like, okay, honey is not necessarily a part of every bee's life history, right? There are bees that do not like, right? There are bees that don't have honey stomachs, that don't necessarily feed exclusively on nectar or whatever, and pollen and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't know that bumblebees were in that group that do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
really cool.
interesting.
Their honey stomachs are so big that when the stomach is full, it can be 90% of their weight.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
They're very efficient. So yeah, they when they are out looking for food, like they go until they are like full and they come back. So, which is different from honeybees who, their honey stomachs are usually like maybe 50% full when they come back to the hive. So
Lazy.
kind of interesting. I know, right? They rely, I guess, on teamwork, so they don't have to be as like efficient because there's just so many of them.
Is this why honeybees just appear to have such like a lulling kind of like just a weird flight pattern because they're so like they have so much cargo on board that they're just kind of like whoa, and like bonking into stuff. Like
You mean bumblebees?
bumblebees, yeah. Like is that why? Is that they just have so much like that has to affect the way they move, right? They're carrying that much stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure that it probably does.
Wild.
But yeah, I don't know for sure because that's a lot of extra weight.
Fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot of jokes about like, oh, we don't even understand how bumblebees fly because they're just so big. It's all physics. We know how they fly. It's not a secret. It's not. It's
Okay.
They're big, but they got strong wings.
I have a question about bumblebee secrets, though. Wait, did you finish? Is it you got your question? It's my turn for a question?
I forgot the last one because it was 30 minutes ago.
Oh, man. Well, good for me.
Maybe I'll remember it.
I want to know about like bumblebee casts and how different they look. Are worker bumblebees different from queen bumblebees?
So the queens are quite a bit larger, and the workers are smaller than the males. So again, kind of similar to honeybees. The queens have like very elongated abdomens, or in the UK they call them tails. What? That's not a tail. It's like their organs. I know, but it's also kind of cute.
That's what they call the for
abdomen.
like all insects. They call it a tail.
I've seen it specifically like with bumblebees, because a lot of bumblebee research is Europe and UK based.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting, but yeah, there's like bees that are called like the red-tailed bumblebee because it's got a red tail. I don't know. It's just very cute. Anyways, the queens will have very elongated abdomens. The workers are fairly small, and then the males are going to be a little bit bigger than the workers. So it's not like probably super obvious. And since there is such a size difference between different species, other than like a queen, like just seeing a random bumblebee without like the context of the rest of the like nest, I feel like it'd be hard to tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Whoa.
We saw the bumblebee guide you posted.
It's so good.
It's very good.
Oh, I didn't study it though because I was trying not to spoil myself. Should I have looked at that more closely?
I just thought it was neat because I mean they're just like different colors and they're fuzzy and different patterns and it's nice.
Yeah. Bumblebees are like, if you know what to look for, are like one of the easier bees to ID a species just because they are different colors and different patterns, mostly on like their abdomens. And like the striping, like this species has 3 stripes, but this species only has 2 stripes and things like that.
And they're big enough you can actually see that.
Yes, which is very helpful. The largest bumblebee species is about an inch and a half long, just 3.8 centimeters. That's a big bee.
That is a big bee.
That is a big bee.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them have gross hairy eyes?
None of them have gross hairy eyes.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. If there was a bee that had gross hairy eyes, boy, that'd be a shame.
It's honeybees. Honeybees have gross hairy
honeybees.
eyes. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've finally gotten through all of our questions. Would you like to resume your plan to talk about bumblebees?
I think where you left off was in Scotland.
Yes, correct. That's all I had about that organization. I mean, they're really cool and their website's great, but then you guys just conveniently started talking about pollination, which was my next topic anyways.
Okay, so. It's because you said when you brought up the move the nest thing, that's when we got way off track.
Yeah,
okay.
It's okay. We're back on track now.
Nicole, please proceed.
Thank you. So yeah, we already talked about this a little bit, but I wanted to talk about like they're really, really good pollinators. Why are they such good pollinators? I picked out 3 things.
Can we guess them?
Absolutely.
Are you gonna say it first or me? Fuzzy.
Yeah, that's number 1.
I beat you to it, Alan.
Can I guess number 2?
Yeah.
Buzzy?
I mean, yeah.
Yes. Oh, they like the pollen.
Ooh.
Hold on now. they
That's a thing. No, it's a thing.
but yeah, like they can like vibrate
Yes.
like the stamens of flowers and
yes.
like shake stuff out of them.
And there's some plants that like will only do it if they get buzzed by a bumblebee. Like they like withhold that stuff until bumblebees buzz them.
It's true. Yeah, I think I've seen some videos of this through Nicole.
Yeah.
Yes,
Should I edit that out?
it is
don't know.
explicit.
Yeah, it's pretty explicit.
My bad. I'll beep it.
But no, yeah. So they're very, very fuzzy. They can carry a lot of pollen. My second one was that they are very adapted to certain flowers, especially when it comes to buzz pollination, and things like snapdragons, like these really big, heavy flowers that only bumblebees can like push open and like force their way inside of.
Nice.
Yeah. Like they have a lot of really cool relationships with flowers. Look up bumblebees pollinating flowers because it's just the most adorable, amazing thing. Do you want to try to guess number 3?
Busy. They're
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, sorry.
Oh, they're just like efficient.
Yeah,
like,
they're workaholics.
okay.
Oh no. Find some work-life balance, guys.
Yeah. Well, they go to sleep at night
yeah.
and then back to work. Slackers.
But yeah, they're little workaholics. They're busy little bees. They're up earlier than most other pollinators. They stay up later than most other pollinators.
Aw.
They're out when it's cloudy. They're out when like it's just chilly out. Like whereas a lot of other like if you're ever doing pollinator research or like trying to like see what kind of pollinators are visiting like your garden, you're supposed to do it between like very specific temperatures, only when it's completely like not cloudy at all out, because there's a lot of pollinators that just won't be active if it's cloudy or chilly or, you know, a million other things. It has to be like perfect conditions to do pollinator research. I know because I have painstakingly waited many a day for the perfect like conditions to go out and do like sweep netting and stuff. So
Okay.
Very cool.
That's super cool. I wonder why that is. Do you know why?
a
Why they're
lot
able
of,
to be more active?
yeah, a lot of it is just they're able to be more active. So they don't produce insects, don't produce their own heat. So they need it to be warm out for them to be able to be moving around. They move around a lot faster when it's warmer out as well, to an extent. Obviously, if it's like super hot, they're not going to be out either. And you also want really low wind speeds as well. I forgot about that one. Because otherwise they're just, you know, getting blown about and not accomplishing what they're trying to accomplish. So, and then as far as like the cloudy portion of that, insects are navigating primarily by eyesight, and they need the sun reflecting off the flowers and giving off the flowers all their UV guides and things like that those flowers have, for them to be able to find the flowers that they need to eat.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And bumblebees are able to navigate those things better than other bees.
Yes, and better than like most other pollinators.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the fuzzy insulation help with that? Is that why they're able to emerge like on cooler like spring mornings and things like that, or stay out later in the evening?
It might be the fuzziness, and also just because they are so big.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a little windy, doesn't matter. It weighs a lot more than the average insect, things like that.
Right.
So
How much more?
How much more?
what's an average insect weigh? There's some insects that are like almost microscopic.
Okay, no, that's fair. Yeah. Okay.
Give us the answer, Nicole.
I don't have
Nicole,
one.
answer us.
Ooh, this is weird to think about now.
Yeah. Isn't it cool?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
how small are like little thrips, you know?
So small.
Right?
Yeah.
Would you even be able to measure them?
Yes.
Or like weight?
This is
Oh.
what's kind of fun about insects, though, is there are insects that are thousands of times larger than other insects. Yeah.
But yeah, and something else that helps them is that they just have really, really good eyesight. Compared specifically to honeybees, their eyes are 2.5 times bigger, like surface area wise. And the visual acuity, so like how clear things are, the bumblebees have about 25% like better eyesight than a honeybee. But yeah, so they just are really good at navigating and like being out at times where other insects are not. And when they do find a nectar source or a pollen source, they hurry back to the nest And they don't do a dance per se. I've seen it described as a dance, but it's definitely not a dance. They just get really excited and they just do laps around the nest and run around. And all this running around is spreading pheromones and getting all of the other bees excited. And then they all go out and forage together. It's very cute.
Oh my God.
That is adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah. And these little like runs can last like several minutes. They just get that excited about like a new pollen source.
They gotta amp everybody up too. Like,
Yeah.
you guys follow me. You're not ready yet.
Oh.
Yes. So yeah, they don't have like the fancy waggle dance that honeybees do where they're like describing where it is and like how far and whatever, but they're still communicating.
Okay, so you're saying that honeybees are a little better in this instance?
I mean, I think they're a little extra. Like the bumblebees are getting it done without all of the dancing, so
Okay.
I mean, right? Okay, so it's like, like it's like coming home and then like, would you want somebody like to come up to you and be like, hello, I found food. It's over here. Let me show you exactly where it is. Or would you want like a golden retriever that's just like running around like really excited and you have to like guess kind of what it wants and like,
we have to go to this restaurant right now, guys.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh, I don't know. Let's follow this puppy. He's really excited about stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that's better. Isn't that better?
Okay, I think
Yeah.
that is better.
Yeah.
I think so. I love that. So I wanted to kind of like find some other sources, and I found this website, bumblebee.org. It's very old looking, but it has a lot of really good information on it. I recommend checking it out, but perhaps with a grain of salt because there's no citations anywhere. And they just threw out this fact that like blew my mind, and I have no idea if it's true or not. They said, quote, "It is often thought that hummingbirds have the highest metabolic rate of all animals. However, the metabolic rate of bumblebees is 75% higher than a hummingbird's."
That is an outlandish fact.
And they did give a very specific percentage.
Yeah, so you would think that it'd be really easy to find the thing that they quoted, but nope.
Yeah.
When you search that, you just find a lot of other websites just throwing that fact out there with no citation.
Oh boy.
I hate it when that happens.
I
Yeah.
do hate it when that happens.
Yeah. I tried for like probably way longer than I needed to and just could not find it. So,
Well, that is an interesting, possibly true fact.
yeah.
Yes.
And like I even found there was one person that was like on like a Yahoo Answers. Like I got desperate, guys. I went on like a forum and they were like, I was reading a Guinness World Record book and it said something. And people in the comments were like, oh, well, it specified, hummingbirds have the highest metabolic rate of any endotherm, I think is what it was, like a warm-blooded animal.
Right.
And the fact that they specified means that there's probably other animals out there that have a higher metabolic rate, but it didn't say what those other animals might be.
Interesting.
So I have no idea.
It seems... Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it's impossible. Like, bees are doing stuff, like, all the time, you know? But so are hummingbirds.
And hummingbirds, yeah, do burn a lot of energy per unit mass.
Yeah,
so-
and they're also endotherms, so they're using so much energy keeping warm. Bumblebees
Yeah.
don't have to do any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, do bumblebees, like, enter, like, a torpor at night? Like a hummingbird would?
I don't know if they enter, like, an official torpor, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do slow down, like, a lot.
Fascinating.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and slap a citation needed on the entire last 5 minutes. But it is interesting. It's
is.
interesting.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, so then once I got down that rabbit hole and I pulled myself back out, I fell down another rabbit hole about, like, the efficiency by which bumblebees forage for food, which is a very large rabbit hole, let me tell you. But I found one article in particular that I really, really liked. And it was talking about how bumblebees develop trap lines and how they're better at doing it than honeybees.
Trap lines?
Yes.
What is that?
So a
For pollen?
yes. Okay. So a trap line is simply like the most efficient route to find the best flowers and then come back to the hive or the nest.
Okay.
And bumblebees do it way better than honeybees. And they had a really interesting experiment where it was all in lab settings. So they were trying to, be careful not to introduce a lot of extra, variables to this experiment. But they would let out one bee at a time through these fancy little doors in front of the hives, which I thought was fascinating. And they would let these bees travel around to either 4 or 6 fake flowers that were more or less distributed randomly in a little fake field that the bees could fly around in. And the honeybees would take not only longer to find all of the flowers, but they often did not necessarily pick the most efficient route. And if they did pick the most efficient route, aka make a trap line, it took them way longer than the bumblebees to do it. And once they increased the flowers from 4 to 6, the honeybees sometimes just wouldn't find all the flowers. Like they would just give up after 4 or 5 flowers. And they never incorporated all 6 flowers into their trap lines. Only the bumblebees would go and make sure they visited all 6 flowers before they came back to the nest.
Whoa, bumblebees are so much better at pollinating things.
Yeah.
Like not even just in like inside the flower itself, like just in finding flowers to pollinate and visiting every single one of them. Damn.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I've seen other studies on like honeybee foraging and just how inefficient they are. And, this study kind of was like, okay, but why? Like, why do they suck so much? And a lot of it came down to that like power in numbers that I was talking about earlier. There's just so many honeybees that they can afford to be less thorough in their searching for food. They also, because bumblebees are so big and they do require so much food to raise and also like food for themselves, they have to be like super efficient and super thorough in order to get enough food to like feed everyone, was another hypothesis that they kind of threw out there. So, yeah.
Because there may only be 25 to 50 like foragers as opposed to 25,000.
Yeah.
Okay. That does make sense.
Yeah. And they're just so big, they just need a lot of food.
Right.
So, which also, and then it came back to the metabolic rate. Like maybe they really do have a really high metabolic rate and that's why they forage so much and so well. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, bumbles also have just like, they're bigger, so they have bigger brains. And a lot of times, it's not always. I went down another rabbit hole talking about like, oh, does bigger brain actually mean that you're smarter or better at completing tasks? Not all the time, but a lot of times. And in the case of bumblebees, yes, they are just better because they got big brains. So that bigger brain probably means that they're just better at making like mental maps and being able to map out where those flowers are and map out the best route. So, yeah.
But not to waggle dance.
Yeah, they don't need that.
Not to waggle dance. Do they have more neurons? Like more? Are they like more densely like their like brain is more like densely packed with neurons?
They actually are. I read a whole paper on it. I didn't
Okay.
understand most of it.
Because that tends to be like a bigger factor in cognition
Yeah.
than just the size of the brain.
Yeah.
It's like the anatomy and the actual density of like neurons. So I
Yeah.
didn't know. Like, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So the bumblebee brain is more dense. I did read that, but I don't understand how brains work. So most of that paper, I was just like, sounds interesting. I don't really know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I got that from it. So,
Yeah.
yes.
It's okay. I'm actually not sure that neurologists are totally sure how brains work. So
I think
that's
they
fine.
make up words.
Yeah, but that's
A lot of science does, Nicole.
yeah.
You're right.
That's how language works. Yeah, it's cool.
But
It'll
yeah,
catch
no.
on.
Yeah. I can forward you that paper if you want. It was fascinating. I just didn't understand it. And then this study did mention kind of like offhand towards the end that, quote, different studies have shown that metabolic rates tested in bumblebees and honeybees during flight were not so different. So now I'm like, do all bees just have really high metabolic rates? I don't know. So my takeaway from that last study was they got big brains. So what can they do with them? Because I love this kind of stuff. I love testing like animal intelligence and like blurring the lines between like animals and humans. It's fascinating and so fun to me.
Yes.
So I found 2 studies that I want to talk about real quick. One was in 2017 by Nicole et al. And they looked at the cognitive flexibility of bumblebees. How good are they at learning something, but then also being able to like apply that to unique situations? So,
Okay.
they did this by offering the bumblebees little wooden balls and just seeing what they would do with them. And
Okay. Yeah, what did they find?
This is my
funding for
favorite
this?
kind of science. This is
Yes.
just like, I don't know, see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens. And like a bumblebee is not going to find like a little wooden ball and do anything with it in the wild. Like that's just like, it's a very novel experience for a bumblebee to come across a little wooden ball, right? And they actually put these balls on a platform with a little hole in the middle, and they would train the bumblebees to learn that if the ball was in the hole, they would get a reward. And the bumblebees would actively move the balls into the hole to get that nectar reward.
Oh,
That's
really
that's impressive. That's
Yeah.
like that's like a problem solving, you know, kind of thing. Interesting. Okay.
I guess it's like not super surprising that bumblebees are able to do some amount of learning
Yeah.
because that's how they navigate their world and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they'd have to, right?
They're
Yeah.
obviously better than honeybees at that in the first place. So
Right.
why not train them?
To like play fetch.
Yeah. Or basketball.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really cool.
That is really
And
cool, yeah.
this study in particular got even more fun because the bees were trained in different ways. The first way was by using like a magnet to move the ball into the hole, which would then dispense the food. The second way was the cutest. The researchers had a little puppet bee on the end of a stick and would move the ball for the bee to train them. And the third way was just by watching another bee that already knew how to move the ball, and then the learner bee would pick up on it and learn how to move the ball.
Alan, are you still caught up on the puppet bee over there?
Well, yeah, no, okay, because that's okay. So you're suggesting that they have a method of sharing information or learning from each other, like birds do that too.
Yeah.
Like birds, like they don't just like
Famously.
automatically know everything that how to be
Yeah.
a bird. They gotta like learn it from their parents and from other birds. Bumblebees also do that. That I guess this is really surprising to me because we don't associate insects with undergoing any kind of like cognitive development. I think we just
Yes.
think they're like, basically like tiny little robots. Like honestly,
Yeah.
like that's I mean
Yeah.
that's always been my perception of like how they function, mentally is like, like signal detected, I'm en route, like
Yeah.
but that's really fascinating that you're like they're actually observing their environment, taking in stimuli and
Yes.
like remembering it
Yeah.
most importantly and like and changing their behavior on this is just like this is wild to me. Like
It's
I love
mind-blowing.
I really love I love just animal cognition as a field, and that's just really fascinating to me. I had no idea about this, so this is really cool.
No, it's super cool.
Oh, did they find in the findings that they learned better from other bees? Or okay,
So
you
yeah,
hadn't gotten to that point
yeah,
yet.
Yeah. So they learned the best from other bees. So by watching other bees, which do you think? So there's the magnet, the bee puppet, and then other bees. Which do you think that they learned the worst from?
I'm trying to decide if I think that...
and the magnet was under the table. They couldn't see it. They just saw the ball moving for clarification.
Okay, I see. I think I'm going to be in camp. Uncanny Valley is too bad for the bees and they don't know what a bee puppet is. That's my camp.
I'm tempted to go that way, but now that you said the magnet was under the table, I'm tempted to say that, since it would make sense that they have a huge portion of their brain would be devoted to visual processing because their eyes are huge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're like intensely visual learners.
Mm-hmm.
But then they are seeing, either way, they're seeing the ball move into the target zone.
That's true, but it could be maybe they're thinking like this is a strange haunted ghost ball.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I love that you guys are like on different sides. It's very fun. So they did learn the best from watching other bees do it. Makes sense. Yeah. They learned second best actually from the puppets.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And the worst from the just magnet and this ball magically moving to where it needed to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
That does make sense to me.
Because then maybe they wouldn't like think like, oh, I can affect this in order to change the outcome.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I just desperately want to be the person with the bee puppet showing them how to move the ball around.
I want to see what the puppet looks
cute.
like.
I
want to know.
Should we get a bumblebee program animal?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Oh my God.
But yeah.
Okay, that is really cool. And I think what Alan said like really kind of blew up my brain about this for me too, because we act like it's such a huge surprising deal that birds are able to even learn from each other. But insects also do that, you know, like this particular social insect can do that. And like, is it a trait of being social that you learn from other animals around you? Or it's really cool that they have that ability?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, is socialization or whatever, is that like an aspect of how like their learning ability? That's a good question.
I've always heard like specifically with ants, like one ant alone is like kind of dumb, but you get like 10 ants together and like
They're
they can
really
like
dumb. No,
they can, it's like their IQ increases with like the number of ants that are around. And probably a lot of that is just like they're communicating so much, even though we don't necessarily maybe see it. There's pheromones going on and antenna and all sorts of things going on that like the sociality of ants is what makes them conquerors of forests and things. Like they're smarter together. And then like one final cool thing about this particular study was that they also, they taught the bees that ball and center means food. Then they had the newly taught bees perform the experiment by themselves. They got better at it over time, which makes sense. But they also introduced more than one ball at the same time. And they were trained on these little like yellow balls with like black dots on them, but they were also offered a black ball that was closer to the middle of the platform. And the bees would actually move the closer ball into the middle to get the reward faster. Like they were able to conceptualize, even though they were only taught with the yellow balls that were at the edge of the platform, they were able to realize that I will get this reward faster if I just use this one that's closer and like pick the most optimal route.
That is so cool.
That is really cool. It's also like demonstrating like a little bit of like plasticity and, which, you know, I will try this thing that it's a little different from what I've been taught will work, but I'm going to try it because it's closer and see if I can still get there. Yeah, like that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Like, that kind of like, with like the trap line idea too. It's like, how can I do this just a little bit faster? Like, is this flower closer than this flower? Maybe I'll do it this way instead. Like, it's weird to think of like this is like a process that's going on inside a bumblebee's brain.
Yeah. And
this is really weird.
And I don't know if it's like too outlandish to say that it's like a curiosity, because maybe it's just like association or something that makes them think that it might work. But regardless, like their willingness to try like a novel thing that might achieve the same results is really cool too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because, I mean, the balls are different colors, though.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
So it wouldn't just purely be an association thing, maybe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? Yeah. Whoa.
Wow.
They're
Whoa.
so smart.
Okay.
But yeah, so then there's this very cool paper that went like semi-viral, at least in my very nerdy insect-based circles. I don't know how viral it actually went. In my feed, it was everywhere. But on the 19th of October of 2022, they wanted to know, do bumblebees play?
This is such a good question.
It is a
It's
great question.
such a good
I do want to
question.
know. I want to know.
Yeah, because play is something that we associate with higher cognitive functions, specifically a lot of times in mammals and birds. So if bumblebees, a lowly insect, can play, like, what is going on in their little brains? Did either of you see anything about this?
No.
Okay.
I want to say I feel like I might have seen like a TikTok or something about
Yeah.
this, but I don't remember exactly what the study was.
Yeah.
But I feel like this. Okay, no, just go. Just say more. Say more things.
Okay. But yeah, and like I read like some like synopses of the paper, but actually reading the paper, like they leave out so much stuff. It's so cool. Anyways, they again gave the bumblebees these little wooden balls, and like
Sorry.
this time they literally were just like, what are they going to do with them? They didn't train these bumblebees to interact with the balls in any way. They didn't train them that this moving this ball around means food. The balls were just existing in their space. And the way that this was kind of set up was, again, laboratory settings. They had a bumblebee nest with a kind of like a first little room outside of the nest where on one side there was the balls that were like stuck in place. The other side had balls that were free rolling. And then if they just went straight, so they didn't have to interact with the balls at all. If the bees just went straight across the room, there was food rewards on the other side. But again and again, the bumblebees chose to interact with the free moving balls, and they appeared to be playing with them. Like they were interacting with them with no obvious benefit to themselves.
Is that how we define play?
So
Yeah, I guess is that. I
Yeah.
guess so.
yeah, doing something just for the fun of it. Like that's play. Right?
Yeah.
Just for doing something for no apparent reason.
Yeah. So they actually gave out, there's behavioral criteria for an animal at play. This isn't a direct quote.
Okay.
So the like criteria that they gave were as follows. 1, did not contribute to immediate survival strategies.
Okay.
2, was intrinsically rewarding. 3, differed from functional behavior in form.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
4, was repeated but not stereotypical. And 5, was initiated under stress-free conditions. So to kind of elaborate on some of these, because there's some like kind of weird words there, differed from functional behavior and form, aka they're doing something that is weird and novel. For a
Okay.
bee to grab onto a ball and just like push it around and like ride it as they like roll over top of it, like that's weird.
That is weird.
amazing.
It's like not something a bumblebee would do in its normal day-to-day life.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's what
so
that
they're
is.
doing
Yeah.
something unique with this object. They're not just like moving it out of the way
Or trying to pollinate it
Yeah.
or whatever.
or like trying to climb on top of it, or like like they are interacting with it in unique ways that they would not normally do with something else.
Cool.
The repeated but not stereotypical, that is referring to like pacing. So like if you see an animal that is pacing and it always walks 10 steps to the left, 10 steps to the right, 10 steps to the left, 10 steps to the right, that's stereotypical behavior. It's repeated and stereotypical. It's the same every single time and is usually an indicator of like stress.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But when the bees played with these balls, it wasn't the same motion over and over again. Sometimes they would push them with their back legs. Sometimes they'd push them with their front legs. Sometimes they would just kind of like push them for a short period of time. Sometimes it was for a long period of time. It was random.
I'm sorry. This is making me very happy.
I
I'm
know.
trying not to distract you. I just wanted you to keep talking.
No,
Okay.
your face is just so happy. It makes me happy.
This is great. I love
It's so
this.
cool. But yeah, and then the initiated under stress-free conditions, they, didn't have an excess amount of light or noise going on around the bees. They were just doing this just because it wasn't like a stress response. And that's important to qualify it as something that is play.
Okay.
Huh.
What was the very last criteria?
The stress-free conditions.
Oh, and it was like intrinsically rewarding or something?
Yes. Yeah. Intrinsically rewarding,
yeah.
and then does not contribute to immediate survival strategies were the other two. So the intrinsically rewarding, that one is obviously a little bit harder to kind of qualify.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that in the paper they said that it meets this criteria because they kept coming back to it. If it wasn't rewarding, they wouldn't keep doing it.
Yeah, they would go to something that is rewarding, like the nectar.
Yeah, like the nectar. So.
And you said they were, but they would choose to interact with the ball as opposed to going for easily available rewards, right?
Yes.
They were just like, so I mean, that would sort of suggest, given that they're verifiably aware of both, that there is like some, that
they're choosing to do that.
They're getting something out of interacting with this
Yeah.
interesting new object.
Yeah. Yeah. And they also, so that was something that I thought of was like, well, is it just because it's novel and it's new? So they're like checking it out. And they found that there was, I guess, like maybe a slight correlation between it's novel, so therefore they're playing with it. But they found that just like in mammals and birds and a lot of other animals, the younger bees would play with the balls more than older bees. And they
I love that.
yeah, and it wasn't just that like the bees as they aged they stopped playing with them, but rather they introduced a young set of bees and an old set of bees to the balls at the same time, and the younger bees would play with them for longer than the older bees would. So it's not just because it's novel, like a lot of it is like there's something else going on there. Super cool.
Were the older bees judgmental because these are bees that are used to working like 12 or 14-hour days.
Yeah, they sleep sometimes, and that's it.
Yeah, so they're like, wow, get a job, young bees.
I mean, maybe, but
Okay.
I don't think
qualify that.
yeah, I don't think we have a way of testing that for sure.
Okay,
But
that's fair.
yeah. But yeah, super, super cool. They also found that males would play with the balls longer and just also, I know. And that they also just didn't work as hard. So like females would be like out foraging more than the males would.
Aww.
So yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute. I just came up with another question.
Yeah.
Yes.
What? No, my question is, in honeybee colonies, which is, all of the bee education we ever receive ever in our lives, every single bee is female except for drones.
Mm-hmm.
Are you telling me there's worker bees that are male? Or are they just drones?
I think that it's primarily going to be the drones that are before they leave the hive and they're looking for, ladies. Then,
well, they don't have to work. They're just there to bang. Like, of course they're going to be playing more.
I mean, that's fair. They do work a little bit, though.
Oh, they
just
do?
not as much as the females.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
They have to do like a little stint of labor in the nest before they can go be free and find a queen.
Yes. And they also looked at like another part of this same experiment was they would train the bees to expect the little wooden balls in certain colored chambers. So they would offer like a yellow chamber that did have the toys in them, and then they would switch it out for a blue chamber that didn't have the toys. And so they had two different groups of bees.
I love this whole thing. I'm sorry. Nicole keeps looking over at me smiling, and I keep making her break like her concentration. But I'm just very pleasing to me.
It's so good. I was just like giggling like to myself while researching this because it's so good.
There's so much joy in this room right now.
It's very nice. Yeah.
So they had one group of bees that were expecting the toys in the yellow box, one group of bees that were expecting the toys in the blue box. And they found that when they kind of switched it up and they offered both colored boxes to both sets of bees, the bees would like immediately go for the box that they expect the toys to be in. They're like, "Give me those little wooden balls. I want to play."
I'm just oh man, I can't handle this. The vibes are too good.
It's so cute.
It's great.
Yeah. And they even had like this experiment, like I love it so much because they thought of like every time, because when I first saw this like making its rounds through social media, I was like, is it like actually play? Like I was not convinced at all. Sure. I was like, surely it's a novel thing, they're playing with it because it's new and it's interesting, or maybe they're trying to climb on top of it, or like I just had like a lot of like, you know, but, and every single time I had one of those thoughts, this paper was like, "Ooh, I got you. Like we tested for that," and I love it. It's such a well done experiment. I'm sure that there are faults with it, but like every single time I had a question, like it was immediately answered, and it was just so good.
Oh, you love to see it. That's awesome.
But yeah, I was like, yes, I was like, maybe they're just like looking in the box and like seeing that there's the toys in there, so they go in there. But no, they had these little like baffles. They had like a piece of the. They had baffles that were in front of the rooms so that they couldn't see in front of the rooms. So they had like a little like corridor that they had to kind of like go around so they couldn't like peek and see if there's something in there. So yeah, it's just very well designed. And this paper, they don't have like actual photographs of any of the stuff, but they do have like diagrams of like all the different experiments, and they're very well put together and very easy to read. The experiment overall is like very accessible. If anyone is interested in this, I highly recommend like reading it because it's so cool.
Link in the notes.
Yes.
Link in the notes. And is there video?
So
please. Oh, Nicole's smiling. There's totally video.
There is video of the bees playing with the little wooden balls, and it's absolutely adorable.
Love it.
Yeah. But yeah.
Holy cow.
Like, but what does this like mean for like I don't know, just the fact. So if bees can play, to me, that implies that they can feel some kind of happiness, right? Maybe not how we think of it, but like they're doing this thing because they like to do it. They're not getting rewarded with food or warmth or social interaction. Like they're doing it because it's fun.
They're not robots.
Yeah, like
it's
they're
an
not
emotional
robots.
response. Yeah.
And if they can feel happiness, what other kind of emotions can they feel? And like what kind of consequences does this have for like insect husbandry and like welfare and like what even qualifies as sentience? Because if feeling emotions is sentience, bumblebees are sentient. You know?
Whoa. I was not prepared for this level of philosophical conversation today.
I know. Yes.
But let's go there.
I was secretly giggling to myself when you were like, we can't get that philosophical. I was like, ooh, just wait.
Oh, you monster.
But yeah, like, and how complex are these feelings? Is it just like something very rudimentary that, I mean, I don't think it should be ignored, but that we can kind of put aside to an extent, you know, for the betterment of the human species, which I guess we do with sentient animals all the time. But I don't know. It's just, I love these weird little experiments that exist with insects, especially when it comes to like cognition and like play. And it's really, really amazing what we are constantly learning from insects.
Yeah,
it is.
I'm immediately thinking of how we've tried to sort of compare emotional responses in certain like vertebrate animals with humans, and how we've been able to like maybe make some direct comparisons by looking at how brain function like lights up in certain areas we associate with like a certain emotional responses and stuff, and like we've identified like feelings of sadness and joy in certain animals and stuff. But then, you know, we can only really infer like, oh, it wasn't as intense, or it was like only this like small region, so it's not like as intense of an emotion or whatever. But then with like an insect, like, can you even do that level of work like on a bee's brain? Like, is it possible to
you can't like
stick a bee in a CT scan?
like give them an EEG or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I mean, not everyone probably knows this, like insect brains, like in quotation marks, are very different than our brains. Like they're just bundles of nerves. Like they're not even called brains most of the time. They're ganglia. They're a nerve center. And they have these ganglia throughout their bodies. So they're not even necessarily they're like, there is the ganglia in the head where a lot of, you know, senses is going to be bigger than the ganglia throughout the body that might only be responsible for like moving wings or moving legs. But like, it's just a bundle of nerves.
Man. That's so frustrating too, because that means that there's really no way for us to ever physiologically look at an insect and make any sort of comparison to what's happening in our brains. So we can just never know that, because we're so limited in our ability to experience like our own things that are happening in our brains, you know? That's so crazy. But it's like, you know, there are so many other animals that don't have like brains, like octopus and stuff, that are demonstrably like super hyper intelligent. Like, and we just have no way of like directly comparing that to humans physiologically. We have to rely on like behavioral studies and these sorts of tests that they demonstrated in this particular study.
We have to teach them to communicate with humans.
Yes!
All animals, really.
Yeah.
Can't bees like remember people's faces, or is that just honeybees? Or is it Africanized like honeybees?
I'm not honestly 100% sure. I know that like social wasps are able to identify each other, and I believe humans as well. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
That'd be cool though. It's another thing birds can do that people lost their minds about. But like, hey, insects, like, if they're doing the same stuff, like it's not that different.
It just looks different.
I just want to okay.
Oh, Alan.
No, I know.
Yes.
I feel like we're not being considerate of our listener right now, because we just like, I'm sitting here having an existential crisis about what do insects feel inside? And what are their inner lives, their emotional lives? What does that consist of?
Right.
I would imagine our listeners are now experiencing that as well. I'd imagine possibly even some bumblebees are experiencing that right now.
Yeah, and this very
we don't
moment.
know.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I need to go and like look out a window for a while. That's all.
That's fair.
Okay. Plant some flowers for bumblebees.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
I mean, not now, because it's like, you know, it's not the time for that.
Nah, it's a little late,
but still.
No, it's not too late. Plant them for next year.
You're right. Put the bulbs in the ground.
Yeah, put them bulbs in the ground.
Bulbs are seeds, not plugs. If you put a baby plant out right now, it will die. At least in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah.
Correct.
Seeds. Put seeds out.
Yes.
Pray the birds don't eat them.
So, how well are bumblebees doing? They're little workaholics. They're doing a great job providing for their family. They can't outcompete how bad humans are, unfortunately.
Humans hate insects demonstrably.
Yeah, so that does not help. There was a 2020 study that looked at 66 different species across North America and Europe and found that bumblebees are far less common than they used to be. In fact, in North America, you are nearly 50% less likely to see a bumblebee in anywhere, just like no matter what habitat, than you were prior to the year 1974.
Wow, 50% less likely.
Yeah.
Depressing.
Wow. Okay.
It's quite a decline.
Yeah.
The Xerces Society And the IUCN Bumblebee Specialist Group, which is amazing, and I'm so glad that exists, finds that 28% of all North American bumblebees are facing some degree of extinction risk. So they're not least concern.
Okay,
So,
sorry, hit me with that percentage again.
28% of all North American species
Are
facing
threatened or worse.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That is a lot.
Yeah. But I will say, to end it positively, there's a lot that we can do for them. They are really hardy bees. If we give them the space that they need and we give them the resources, aka native vegetation that they need, they can absolutely bounce back from that. They don't need a whole lot of space because they do live not in groups of 50,000 individuals. So they need space, but not as much as like if they were more social, if that makes sense. And because they do work together, they're capable of, getting every scrap of pollen and nectar that they need in order to be successful.
So you're saying more localized restoration efforts of like forage are a lot more effective for them?
Yeah, and like has the ability to make like a significant difference.
That's really encouraging.
That is encouraging, yeah.
We talk so often about like animals or, groups of animals that need like landscape scale conservation efforts in order to even be a little bit successful. So it's like really refreshing to find like, oh, here's a little thing that could be done that would make a huge difference.
Yes.
That is that's very affirming.
Yes, definitely. And a lot of bumblebee species also just have like a fairly wide range. So they are spread out enough that like if we lose a localized population here or there, there's still other populations that exist and, could be, saved. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, sweet. Yeah. Plant those native gardens, people.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
Spring. Wait, nope. Just put the seeds out there right now.
That's right. Scarify them, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. My mind is completely broken right now, and I don't think I can say any more podcast words.
That's valid. We're at the end, so that's okay.
Can we end with some honeybee slander?
They're dumb and ugly.
Great, thank you.
They don't have mustaches.
They don't.
They have hairy eyeballs.
Which is not where a mustache should be.
It's not.
Nope. And in the South, they are hybridizing with killer bees and becoming a true nightmare.
Yep.
But bumblebees wouldn't do that to us.
They wouldn't.
I do love a peanut butter and honey sandwich, though. It's my favorite. It's my favorite kind.
I wonder if with enough training we could train bumblebees to
murder honeybees.
I was gonna say produce more honey than they normally do so that we could get some too.
That's rude, though.
They're rude.
We don't know what their inner lives are like. Maybe they're already really stressed out with the level of work they have to do.
They probably are.
That's probably why they like to play so much.
Yeah.
Are we really anthropomorphizing animals right now? Where is the line?
I don't know anymore.
Maybe there isn't.
Yeah.
That's right. A lie. There probably is.
It's a difference of degree, not a difference of kind.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what Jane Goodall would say.
Yeah.
I would say that you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say thank you guys for listening to this podcast and sticking with us. The Best Biome is produced through our nonprofit, Grassland Groupies, which is dedicated to inspiring the conservation of grasslands. And we do not support the total eradication of honeybees, for the record. Yes. In the show notes, you can find all of our information. So you can text, call, or tweet us. If you enjoyed the show and want to support us, tell your friends about us and leave a review on Podchaser or Apple Podcasts. We couldn't do this without your support, and neither honestly could the bumblebees, so make sure you give them support. Make sure you plant some flowers for bumblebees, and if you have a nuisance hive, stick a little water spout in there and redirect it into your enemy's yard or something.
Yeah.
Maybe not that. Put it somewhere where there's lots of flowers.
There we go.
There we go. That's
more
much
positive.
Thank you. That's it.
Bye.
Hello from your favorite Grasslands PR team.
Just keep going, and then just do it again from the beginning. You gotta get the giggles out.
Whew, okay, great.
Doing great, Rachel.
Thank you. Hello.
Why is the hello the hardest part?
Why is that? That was just a weird choice. All right.
Hey, from
Hey.
Just like a person. Say it to me. I'm your audience.
Yes. Just say the whole thing, get the giggles out, and then just do the whole thing again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello from your favorite Grasslands PR team. This week we're doing stuff. Hello from your favorite.
It's going great.
Oh, great. Oh, boy. Why is this hard? Whew.